Alright, well, I just took a shower. That's why my hair is wet and my eyes are red. I was, shampooing. Hopefully you guys can't notice, but if you do notice, that is why. So, Amos Yee, a couple of weeks ago, made a video where he explained why he thinks pedophilia is alright. You can't really see the video anymore because it got removed for violating community guidelines. I don't know if the video actually did because I didn't get a chance to actually watch the video, but it's gone now. No one really has a chance. The only thing that you can really do at this point now is to just watch live stream debates Amos Yee has been in and to watch video responses to his original video on multiple different channels because multiple people did video responses where they all kind of said honestly the same thing. I spent these last couple of weeks listening to video response after video response to Amos Yee on his opinions of pedophilia. And honestly, I find it very interesting how, one, everyone kind of all had the same argument about children not having the ability to consent, but no one ever just did the slam-down argument against what Amos was preaching for in its entirety. And the one argument, above all, that would defeat any pedophile's desire, I guess, the fact that no one ever brought it up or said anything to me was very strange to me. I'm not really sure why. So I'm going to take this video to do that. This is the one argument that you would ever need to invoke ever about pedophilia, which will end the conversation outright. No one will see it because I'm not a popular YouTuber, but I'm going to put this out there so you guys can spread this like a virus, okay? The ultimate argument against pedophilia. And I'm not saying that, because I'm cocky or I'm arrogant. I'm saying that because there's no counter argument to what I'm going to say. There's no... Okay, so let's get into it. So, the entire affliction, the definition of being a pedophile is one who is attracted to prepubescent children, correct? If this be the case, then you must realize that pedophilia makes no sense in concept. Because the whole point of having sex is to reproduce. I hear some people saying, you can say this, you can say, well, sir, some people never have sex with the intentions of reproducing. And that would be true. You're not wrong, but that's also not a counter-argument to anything I'm saying. You could then say, well, some people like to have sex for pleasure because it feels good. And that would be true. But it still wouldn't be a counter-argument to what I'm saying. I'm talking about the teleos of sex, the ultimate purpose of what it's for. And its tertiary purpose, I guess you say more secondary purpose, would be to strengthen bonds between males and females, and I guess maybe I can extend that to homosexuals, but I don't really think so because they're actually pretty promiscuous people. So, yes, that would be its secondary function, to strengthen bonds between the two people having sex. Its primary function is to reproduce and to make people. So you would realize that a pedophile could never ever at any point fulfill not even the secondary purpose, let alone its first purpose, because the children are prepubescent, which means they haven't gone through puberty, which means they can't reproduce. There's not even a reason to have sex with a child. Done. That's it. There's not even a point to it. And, okay, well, there you go. That's the end of that now, isn't it? Now, it's very strange to me that at no point anyone ever just logically deduced that the entire affliction of pedophilia is just illogical. It just doesn't make any sense at all. There's not even a point in even defending it because there's no scenario where it would ever make sense to try to have sex with a child. There's no situation where it would ever be optimal, where it would ever make any sense at all. Even in terms of lust, it still wouldn't make any sense. Yeah, I mean, okay, let's just proof of concept of what I'm saying. How about it's World War IV, nuclear holocaust, aliens attack, zombie apocalypse, whatever, any type of desolate environment just occurs, okay? So, you see an 11-year-old girl walking down the street. There's still not a reason to have sex with her. There's still no scenario where it would make sense to try to reproduce with her for a multitude of reasons. One, she's prepubescent. She can't reproduce, so you can't repopulate the earth. Two, in the scenario I laid out, it still isn't reasonable because a pregnant 11-year-old would be more trouble to carry around than just one 11-year-old. And then three, how is the 11-year-old going to be a good mother to her children? It doesn't even make any sense. It's just not logical at all. At no point Now, of course, you could argue that pedophilia is not logical, but even if that be the case, it still does not make any sense at all. Even the mind of the pedophile itself is strange unto itself. But the point that I'm making, because I know a lot of people probably are like, we're talking about doomsday now, was this one pet? The point that I'm making was that even in an environment where there's no social structure, there's no law enforcement, there's nothing, there's no consequence for what you would do if you were to, and even if you're a woman and you had sex with a 12-year-old boy, even we'll just throw that in there too. Even in that case, in an environment, again, there's no social repo, there's no consequence. It still isn't reasonable to have sex with a child. And of course, I can even, again, some people might come on and say, well, maybe they just want to make the child feel good. They just want to pleasure the child. Well, that would actually be even less of a reason to have sex with a child, because there's lots of things you can do with a child that does not involve having sex with them. Like, you can read them a book. You know, you can just have a conversation with them. You just talk to them. I mean, if anything. What else can you can just play with the child? You can just play patty cake with them. If you really just want to entertain a little kid, you can play video games with them. There's lots of other things you could do long before. At any point, there's a long list of things you can just go outside and just walk with them. There's a lot of things you can do with a kid long before you get to it makes sense to have sex with them. It's just, again, there's no argument for it. There's not even a point to it. So I find it very strange that anyone would even argue about children lacking the capacity to consent. Even if a child could consent, there's still not a point in having sex with them. They can't reproduce, and it probably won't make them feel good. So why are you having sex with them? It's obvious. It's obviously a very selfish desire from the adult's part. Obviously the adult is the one being selfish. They're not having sex for the sake of the child. They're not trying to help the child. They're not trying to strengthen their relationship with this child. It is purely, and this is why a lot of people find pedophilia to be disgusting, it seems to be purely a desire that stems from sadism, trying to hurt them. Now, of course, Yee, in a lot of his videos, a lot of the posts he made, he would constantly say that he has studies where young people would have relationships with people who are much older than them. I'm talking about, like, I don't know, 12, 11, 10, I don't know. Who would have relationships with adults, and they'd be perfectly fine. I don't really know what the definition of perfectly fine is, but again, it just doesn't even make any sense as to why an adult would choose a child unless their desire was to try to control and manipulate them like a parent would. I mean, there's no way. The whole, again, even trying to have a relationship with the child defeats the purpose of having a relationship to begin with. The whole point of having a relationship is to screen an individual for marriage. A lot of people don't do that, but that's the point. I mean, they don't do it, but that's why you date people. That is its intended function. And to that end, again, dating a child, I don't find that there would be any scenario where you were trying to marry the child. So, no. Again, even dating them doesn't make any sense. I have seen Yee say time and time again, he doesn't think that you shouldn't penetrate a child until they're like 12, and I'm pretty sure that's more for young ladies, because women usually go through puberty around 11 to 12. So but if they go through puberty, then you're no longer talking about pedophilia. That'd be a separate matter altogether. But even still, it still isn't reasonable to have sex with a 12-year-old girl. There's no way she would ever make a good mother, and there's no way you're doing it for her pleasure when you can just, I don't know, play tag with her. You know, come on, you're never having sex with a child for their benefit. No. So even if he does say that, I mean, it's still unreasonable. To talk about consent is silly, because even if a child could consent, at the end of the day, there's still no scenario where it makes sense. So there you go. That's how you beat Amos Yee's argument. You don't even need to talk about consent. It's a misnomer. That's probably not the right word, but it's a misdirection. There's not even a point in trying to argue that kids can't consent. If you just argue that there's no reason functionally for a kid to have sex, and there's no reason why an adult would even want to be with a child if they were functioning normally in society, then there you go. That's why pedophilia should not be a thing. It only exists to hurt children. It only can hurt children. And even the children that say they end up fine in these relationships are still few and far between from the other children that get abused. Of course, Amos Yee would always say that he's not talking about abuse, he's against abuse, but it's nonsensical because the very nature of the relationship is abusive. For obvious reasons, I don't think I should go into this video. I think they're pretty common sense. So, there it is. That is why pedophilia should not be a thing in our society, why it should not be legal, and why ultimately it just does not make any sense at all. And you don't need to talk about consent for it. You just need basic, honest common sense. Why no one has said this to Amos Yee baffles me, but there you go. So that being said, man, I sure hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and if you did, man, go ahead and click the like button. Just shoot, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Comment in the comment box below. As always, you guys have yourselves a great day. And I'll see you cool cats soon. Adios.